Our top focus story on the broadcast: did 18-year-old climate change activist Greta Thunberg accidentally let the cat out of the bag? The cat of Khalistan elements being involved in the unrest in the national capital on Republic Day. Delhi police says they are carrying out a detailed investigation. An FIR has been filed. That FIR does not name Greta Thunberg but uses that toolkit, that tweet, as evidence, as prima facie evidence to register a case. And Praveer Ranjan, Special Commissioner of Delhi Police, made one thing very clear, that what was listed out in that toolkit actually transpired on ground. General V.K. Singh, Minister of State, now says there should be a detailed investigation, not just into those who were perhaps naive to be taken in by this, but also those that he alleges stabbed India in their back.
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that people are surprised.
Greta Thunberg is facing increasing heat in India, with Delhi police slapping sedition and criminal conspiracy charges against the authors of the toolkit she tweeted. But the activist who set off a storm with her tweets supporting the farmer agitation remains unfazed. On Thursday, she put out a new tweet saying that she stood with farmers and supported their peaceful protest, and that no amount of hate, threats or violations of human rights will ever change that. The latest tweet came hours after a monumental self-poll. The toolkit tweeted by Greta on Wednesday turned out to be a document on the 26 January violent protest that gave a detailed blueprint of mobilizing against the government of India. It called for an on-ground protest at Indian embassies and government offices, and a tweet storm by tagging handles of the Prime Minister's office and the Agriculture Minister. The manual also said that it was paramount to put international pressure on the Indian government. After deleting this original tweet, Greta posted an updated toolkit. The new document, though, had deleted claims of state-backed genocide, creating a Twitter storm and the fascism barb at the Modi government.
1 GB data, 1 GB material, ये सब उपलब्ध कराया गया उन ताकतों को, शक्तियों को कि कैसे हमारे देश को कमजोर करे. किसान कानून तो एक बहाना है, हमारा पवित्र लोकतंत्र इनका निशाना है.
There was a plan hashed outside India, and that plan is talking of actions to be taken from first onwards, first, second, third, fourth, what all is going to be done, and everyday conspiracy along with which celebrity is going to do what all was also part of it.
Greta's tweet, delete and tweet exercise has raised questions on whether her activism is genuine or carefully orchestrated.
This toolkit has a particular section in this document which says that it is titled Prior Action Plan, and it says that digital strikes have to be conducted through hashtags on and before 26th of January.
The Modi government and India's top celebrities have come out strongly to counter the propaganda.
जब हम अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स खुद रिजॉल्व कर सकते हैं तो अच्छा नहीं लगता कि बाहर के लोग हमारे बारे में कुछ कहे. तो मेरी यही विनती है सबसे कि इंडिया के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचिए, इंडियन बन के सोचिए और वैसा ही रहे.
The question then is, have anti-India forces enlisted Greta Thunberg and other international celebrities in a plot to defame? Is activism not just about farm laws now? Bureau Report, India Today.
Is it now mask off Greta Thunberg or Rihanna or Mia Khalifa? I mean, they were just the masks. Is it the Khalistani elements, as Delhi police insists? Have those Khalistani elements been unmasked, or is this just the beginning? And as General V.K. Singh says, and before I get you those details, let's introduce you to our guest for the evening. Adil Singh Boparai represents the Congress Party. Nupur Sharma represents the Bharatiya Janata Party. Saira Shah, Halim and Soram Mahajan join me on the broadcast as analysts on this big story. But Adil Singh Boparai, General V.K. Singh says poisonous content was lapped up by some to claim declaration of validity of their political opposition at an international level. Whether they too are naive, short-sighted or complicit, this needs to be investigated. Never seen such backstabbers. Does the opposition need to clarify its stance, sir?
Well, Gaurav, the issue is not Rihanna. The issue is not Greta Thunberg. The issue is the way the Bharatiya Janata Party and its ecosystem treating the farmers of this country. The issue is the way the Bharatiya Janata Party is labeling our Annadatas as terrorists. And I agree with you to a limited extent, to an extremely limited extent. There is a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy which has been hatched by Mr. Narendra Modi, by Mr. Gautam Adani, by Mr. Mukesh Ambani, to rob the farmers of this country of their livelihood and to reduce farmers to serfs and slaves on their own land. Now, before I respond to your question, Gaurav, today farmers of this country are being deprived of basic human rights, rights which are recognized as something which is inalienable to human existence. Rights such as access to potable.
Sir, I'll come to that aspect, but for the benefit of this debate, this debate is limited. This debate is limited to the question I raised, sir. We are raising a question. We've been having a series of all-encompassing debates for the past 60 days. Sir, my question was very. Sir, we are hearing you out. It's a conversation. Sir, we must have a conversation. But here the issue is, we all know that Greta Thunberg is not the issue, and it's not Rihanna, and it's certainly not Mia Khalifa. But were there the masks for Khalistani elements? Were there masks for Khalistani elements?
My answer, Gaurav.
No, sir, it isn't. It isn't. No, sir, it isn't. And you may like to watch that subsequently. Nupur Sharma, farmer leaders are saying, no, I don't want you to remain quiet, but I want this to be a conversation, sir. With due respect, sir. Nupur Sharma, farmer leaders say you are using. Yes, sir. Let me bring Nupur Sharma also to respond.
That is not an issue, but a tweet by a pop star is an issue. Come on. Are we that insecure?
Okay.
Is India that insecure? I'm sorry. Mr. Modi may be that insecure.
Is it just a pop star? Is it just a pop star? Or are there Khalistani elements behind the pop star? Or are we choosing not to look? Sir, let me.
We are not discussing that, but we're discussing a tweet.
And are Khalistani elements trying to milk it? Are Khalistani elements trying to milk it?
We're a mature democracy, Gaurav.
Okay. Nupur Sharma. Sir, I'm sure and I'm confident about that, but that's not the point. The point is, are Khalistani elements putting these pop stars as a mask to try and destabilize our country? And are we choosing to turn Nelson's eye to that big issue? It is a big issue. You know it. You come from a state that has suffered. We've all come from that country that has suffered. But Nupur Sharma, is the BJP, is the government...
Khalistan bogie is a lie. I can say it with confidence. Khalistan bogie is a lie.
Please, I'm so glad.
Is it a
okay. Nupur Sharma wants to respond. Nupur Sharma, okay. Sir, let's have a conversation. My request. I am sorry, sir. Adil Singh Boparai, that's so unfair, sir. Let's have a conversation, sir. We are confident about our facts. Let's state them. We don't need to re-emphasize every point. But Nupur Sharma, is the government using Rihanna, Greta Thunberg, Mia Khalifa and all these as a way to discredit a farmer movement? For 60 days, they've been out on the streets. So many have lost their lives, ma'am.
Well, there are three things I want to say to you. Good evening, Gaurav, to co-panelists and also to the viewers. Well, till yesterday, I remember the Congress party using cup politicians like the Kanhaiyas of the world, who's just been recently censored by his own political party. Till yesterday, they were using cup politicians as crutches, as Baisakis, as we know in Hindi, to regain some or gain some relevance in electoral politics. Aaj ye naubat aa gayi hai, and as we all heard the leader of opposition in the parliament take the crutches of these people, and it's just not a pop star, also happens to be a porn star, to actually make a political point. Why do I say that? The first person to jump the bandwagon was the senior most spokesperson of the Congress party, Mr. Randeep Surjewala, who quoted tweet and, just was chest beating. I think Congress has perhaps forgotten its own history, which saw Mrs. Indira Gandhi say, and I actually quote her, when she was countering Khalistanis and Bhindranwale, that external pressure, external voices are just noises. They have no business meddling in our internal affairs. Certainly the government of the day is not rattled, but it's for everybody to see how this entire gamut of opposition is exposing itself. How? The MP's visit today to the borders. How only 2 days ago, and let me complete, Captain Amrinder Singh did a press conference and accepted in that press conference that Pakistanis have infiltrated this entire protest. There are drones infiltrating the Indian borders. Can I also name the All India Kisan Congress Committee, Kisan Congress Joint Convener? I just want to complete one line, please, Gaurav. Please, I've been hearing patiently.
Ma'am, let me come back.
The All India Congress Committee Joint Convener, Gursimran Singh Mand, went on record and has asked for protection from the Punjab CM, Mr. Captain Amrinder Singh, and has gone on record to give his statement to STF Haryana.
Let's stay on the central issue. You still haven't answered the question I asked. Ma'am, you haven't answered. You haven't answered my question. Are you using the Khalistan bogey? But I will come back to you because I now want to bring in Saira Shah Halim. Saira Shah Halim, I'm sure you've read that document that Greta Thunberg, and she's just 18, so she's not important. What she says is not important. What Rihanna tweets is not important. What Mia Khalifa tweets is not important. But are they the masks for something far more sinister, Saira Shah Halim, that's happening behind the scenes? Khalistani elements using hashtag and much more to try and destabilize our country. Like Praveer Ranjan, the Special Commissioner Delhi Police, says, what was written in this cheat sheet is what happened on Republic Day.
So I'd like to make one thing very clear, Gaurav, that it's not about Mia Khalifa, it's not about Rihanna, it's not about Greta. The larger question is that the Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to distract the public's attention from the core issue. The core issue is repealment of the 3 agricultural laws. We want to understand from the government when are they
planning violence in Delhi cannot be violence in Delhi. Laws. Violence in Delhi. My only submission is, if that was the core issue, then why was there violence in the national capital? Why were tractor wheelies and tractor tandav happening at ITO? All of that is an issue that you must talk about. You must talk about because this is as much your country, Adil Singh Boparai's country, Nupur's country, Sonam's country, my country. We can't see our country being taken for a ride like this in the name of farm protests.
Okay, so let me just allow me to speak for a minute. So what I'm saying is, till the 26th of January, the farmers' protest was a largely peaceful one. Now, there were some goons who were there, and we need to investigate who those goons were, who they were planted there, because they were trying to delegitimize a very peaceful and a legit movement of the farmers. Because here, the farmers' protest is gaining worldwide traction, because here, there is a concerted effort to corporatize this whole
worldwide traction of Rihanna and Mia Khalifa.
So Mia Khalifa is the far right's agenda to delegitimize a media personality. She is a Lebanese American media personality, and here this personal slander will not work. The farmers want to ask, when will Mr. Narendra Modi and his government have a Monday bath with the farmers? The farmers are camping outside Delhi and in Delhi for the past 3 months, and there is absolutely no meeting point so far. So we need to understand where 150 farmers have lost their lives. It is not a matter to be taken lightly. We simply want to know
Sonam Mahajan,
Mr. Narendra
absolutely.
Modi
I'm with you as far as the movement is peaceful. As far as the movement is peaceful, I am with you. But the moment in the name of peaceful protest, tractors are used as a weapon of mass destruction, as somebody in the Delhi police put it, when policemen had to run for cover, when policemen had to dive into moats, that is where the legitimacy is questioned. But at the same time, Sonam Mahajan, Saira Shah Halim and Adil Singh Boparai have raised it's unacceptable. Unfortunate is a very mild term. It's completely unacceptable. That you're absolutely right. It delegitimizes a movement. But Sonam Mahajan,
who were
Sona
trying
Mahajan,
to delegitimize
who
a
are those
very,
people
very
who were
peaceful
involved in the
and alleged
violence?
movement.
Okay.
And
Okay,
this personal
you heard Saira
slander
Shaleen Sonam
about
Mahajan.
I
She's
can
saying
confess to what,
naming
this
naming
lady
Mia
from BJP
Mia
said.
Mia
Gaurav,
Khalifa
I would only
or
be able to
Rihanna
speak
or
if Saira ji
Greta.
stops
She's
for a
entitled to an
while.
opinion.
Okay,
I
go
don't
on.
know why she
Okay,
keeps heckling
okay,
the
Saira
other
ji, you've made your point.
panelists
Please let
all the
Sonam
time.
respond.
Even if the ladies, whoever,
Ma'am, please
everybody
let
is
Sonam Mahajan
entitled
respond.
to their personal opinion, and I feel this personal
Gaurav,
slander against a woman's
Gaurav,
character
can you please,
Ma'am, you've made that
can
point.
you please
absolutely
mute
Okay.
her?
unbecoming.
Ma'am, can
not
Sonam
able to
Mahajan
hear a
please
thing.
speak now?
Panel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gaurav,
Go on.
we need to realize one thing, that this entire global celebrity support to the so-called farmers, it is not moved by some sort of they are not moved by some sort of a movement. This is a support which has been secured at a very personal level. We have already seen Jagmeet Singh, the Democrat MP from the Canada, who's known for his Indophobia. He is a person who has endorsed violence, as a legitimate means of resistance to attain Khalistan. He's the person who has showered praises on Bhindranwale. So this guy, out of nowhere, as soon as Rihanna tweets, he out of nowhere comes and thanks her, and then comes out the truth that he's a friend of Rihanna. And then we also see that Greta also, she ends up sharing a lot more than what she intended to. And if we look at the master document that has been shared with Greta, it exposes the whole plan. If we look at the unfolding of events in the past, they have pretty much gone in the same manner. So we have a reason to believe that there is a conspiracy at the international level to target the Indian government. And if
you're calling it an
international,
international,
if the Indian government is not engaging with the farmers, Gaurav, how is that possible? That 11 rounds of talks have happened so far already.
Absolutely,
that only happens if the government is engaging with the farmers.
Adil Singh Boparai, Nupur Sharma raised a personal point. In case you want to respond to that point, that in case Rihanna is not important, or in case all of this is not important, the words that have been used here, in this document here, it says to stand up against India's failing democracy at the behest of the fascistic ruling party, the BJP and the RSS. Whatever was written here, what Rihanna said, retweeted or quote tweeted by a senior Congress party leader. If it wasn't important, why did they do that? Rahul Gandhi said exactly the right thing. Foreigners, outsiders, not important, ignored.
I'll answer that, Gaurav. I don't need a Rihanna to tell me that our thriving democracy today stands degenerated into an oligarchy. This is Adil Boparai, Congress spokesperson, saying that our democracy's foundations stand weakened today. Number one. Number two, let's separate the wheat from the chaff. What is propaganda? Is shutdown of internet in Haryana not a fact? Is stoppage of water to the protest sites not a fact? Is stoppage of electricity not a fact? So please tell me, what is the propaganda? Point number two. Point number three, can you name me one agitation or one protest over the past 7 years, Gaurav, which has not been labeled as some kind of a wild or a foreign conspiracy? The moment this government faces difficulty or faces mass agitation, their default modus operandi is to discredit it and label it as some kind of urban Naxal movement or Tukre gang or foreign agent, and the latest in their lexicon is Khalistan. Number four, Gaurav, and which is most critical because I'm a son of a farmer and I'm genuinely concerned, even today, the focus of this government is not to somehow bridge the deficit between the farming community and the government. Even today, their entire agenda is to manage headlines. Even today, their entire agenda is publicity driven. Nupurji, this is a crisis of the BJP's making. And the farmers of this country are not going to settle down at anything less.
Of course I do.
The more you defame us, Gaurav, I said this to your colleagues yesterday and day before yesterday, the more the BJP defames us, the more the BJP maligns us, the stronger will the resolve of the farmers become.
Can I please respond?
You still haven't answered that point about why would... Nupur wants to respond. Go on, ma'am.
Please allow me to. It's a bit rich. I mean, those who, the proponents and sponsors of emergency in India are pontificating about democratic principles and values. Well, I do not want to actually go that back into history, but let's not forget to internationalize internal affairs is completely Congress is doing. From Manish Shankaraya going to Pakistan and lamenting about Are Modi hatao, Congress lao. From Kapil Sibal going participating in some EVM hackathon, raising doubts and questions about our constitutional bodies and obviously how EVMs function, how Election Commission functions. To Chacha Nehru himself, internationalizing Kashmir issue. Let's not forget and let's not go that deep into it. As far as foreign hand conspiracy is concerned, I will reiterate what I said first. You need to ask Mrs. Indira Gandhi. She was the first one to come up with it. As far as urban naxals are concerned, you need to ask your own then Home Minister who coined this term, urban naxals. Let's not forget that India has suffered enough. As far as the Khalistani question is concerned, Gaurav, I want to now pointedly answer to this. Perhaps Mr. Boparai, and Mr. Boparai, you may be son of a farmer. Aaj bhi mere mama kheti karte hain Bijnor ke andar. So it is not that I'm a bigger farmer than you are a bigger farmer. It's not this argument. However, I would urge you to go and check with AICC, Kisan Congress Joint Convener, Gursimran Singh Mann Saab, who has gone on record to say that this protest has been infested by Khalistani. Or perhaps your Ludhiana Member of Parliament, Ravinder Singh Bittu, who has repeatedly complained to Captain Amrinder Singh that SFJ and Khalistanis are extremely active. Only yesterday, as reported, and I'd like to show you, in
Before
a very
I bring
big
in
newspaper
Saira Shah
called the
Halim,
Indian Express, Pakistanis have infiltrated this protest as well. So I don't know whether Nikhil Bhalla or Naresh
Ma'am,
Lal
since you've
Meena
raised several
or Vicky
points,
Thomas
before I
are
bring in
false,
other
are
guests,
false.
please respond. Please respond, Adil Singh Boparai. Certain points that are being raised by Nupur Sharma of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Some of these points have been raised by Congress Party leaders themselves, including Captain Amrinder Singh and Ravneet Bittu, sir.
Gaurav, when you create this stalemate, when you're not willing to budge, when your arrogance and ego takes precedence over farmer interest, obviously India's adversaries can take advantage of that situation. What does a statesman do? What does a leader do? A leader tries to bridge deficits. A leader tries to close fault lines. A leader does not try to divide and further exasperate and precipitate the problem. When a Kangana Ranaut calls farmers terrorists, when ministers of Bharatiya Janata Party calls farmers terrorists, you are doing exactly the opposite. You are moving away from a resolution.
Allow me to respond to
what Captain Sahab has said is, and he urges the government of India that please find a solution at the earliest. Farmers are living under difficult conditions. There is always a possibility of certain external elements taking advantage. But the onus is on the government to
So there is a threat. So there is a threat. Sir, so you appreciate. Sir, you appreciate there is a threat. Okay, 10 seconds, Nupur Sharma, because I need to bring another guest. Quickly, Nupur Sharma.
Well, we are certainly concerned about the actual farmers. I will confirm to you, I do not call any of those miscreants and hooligans who went on a rampage on January 26th, desecrating the Indian tricolour and trying to run over uniformed policemen by tractors, trying to overturn DTC buses. We all saw it on record, trying to tear away, and they did in fact, the Indian tricolour, throwing it off a flyover, using the Indian tricolour to hit policemen in uniform. I'm sorry, nobody from my family would indulge in this kind of loot and arson and this kind of rioting. Perhaps, I'm sure, even somebody from your family wouldn't.
And
so I don't know who you're calling a farmer.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll tell you
Nobody's family.
I'll tell you who did that looting and arson. I'll tell you who that gentleman was. In fact,
Nikhil Bhalla.
Yes.
Nikhil Bhalla. Nikhil Bhalla, who was atop a tractor, a lawyer, perhaps in your rank, is sitting atop a tractor and try the same thing where a policeman was being attempted to be run over. Nikhil Bhalla.
Okay.
Who are you talking about? Are you talking about
no names of people are not here.
yes,
No. Who do you call Deep? Are you talking about Deep Sidhu?
Can I come please,
Himachal Pradesh verified Twitter account
One by one.
described him as
One by
voice of
one.
a farmer. Allow me to come in, please. Who is he complaining
One by
about?
one.
Deep Sidhu, 27 November 2020. The verified Twitter account of Congress Himachal Pradesh Seva Dal described Deep Sidhu as voice of a farmer. Perhaps he's complaining about him. Because I'll tell you what, if photographs were deciding politics, then I also have a photograph of Dr. Manmohan Singh with Yasin Malik. What would that make him? What would that make Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Okay.
The joint company of Mr. Yasin Malik seeming rather happy in his company.
both the Congress and the BJP let's not get into this tutu meme because this is far more serious.
No, this
There
is
are
not
elements
tutu meme.
outside our country that are
Who
trying to
was sent by
destabilize
the
our
Bharatiya
country.
Janata Party to shake
This
on the
is
29th. They were pelting stones under
hold on,
police
hold on,
protection.
hold on, hold on, hold on.
Alisha Mathur
Before I bring in,
captured
hold on. Listen
What
into Praveer Ranjan. Listen into Praveer Ranjan. It's important. I want you to listen into Praveer Ranjan because like all of us, at least I'm glad everyone's on the same page that Rihanna or Mia Khalifa or Greta Thunberg, they are not important. Have tweeted out of whatever reason, whether it's money or something else, that's not important. It's the faces behind these people who are far more important, and for government to beware and for the nation to be careful. Listen in to Praveer Ranjan, Special Commissioner Crime Branch, Delhi Police.
हम लोगों ने किसान जो नेता हैं जो वहाँ पे आंदोलन कर रहे हैं उनको भी ये बात बताई थी कि कुछ एलिमेंट्स ऐसे हैं जो इस किसान आंदोलन का फ़ायदा उठाना चाहते हैं और इसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में दिल्ली पुलिस को सोशल मीडिया मॉनिटरिंग के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक पर्टिकुलर अकाउंट के द्वारा एक डॉक्यूमेंट अपलोड किया गया जिसका नाम टूल किट है। उस टूल किट को एक पर्टिकुलर प्रो खालिस्तानी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जिसका नाम पोएटिक जस्टिस फाउंडेशन है, इसके द्वारा इसकी ऑथरशिप दिखाई गई है।
Saira Shah Halim, this is the cause for grave concern. Those who were using tractors as battering rams, those who were chasing police personnel in their tractors, and those who forced Delhi police to jump into a moat to save their lives. And those are horrifying images. I still can't get them out of my mind. Where a policeman is standing like this, and there are 5 people attacking him. Clearly, they cannot be farmers. If they are Khalistanis, then they need to be dealt with accordingly.
So let me iterate. The usage of tractors was symbolic because here it is a symbol of struggle. It's a symbol of farming. It is something that the farmers use daily while they are doing irrigation, when they're doing farming. So they were not using guns, right? They were using tractors, and it started off in a very good, positive note. The farmers were singing songs. They were absolutely
so using a tractor as a battering ram against a bus is okay according to you.
2-3 people who seemed to be some kind of underground agents who had some vested interest to totally destabilize a very peaceful protest, and those people need to be investigated. It's sad and unfortunate that such a nice, something that started out on such a good note turned out to be violent by a few miscreants. And who those miscreants are, those need to be investigated.
Few miscreants.
Because whether
Sonam
it
Mahajan,
is the deep state,
few
or
miscreants,
whether they were
just a few miscreants, or a planned conspiracy, as this document seems to indicate.
Gaurav, these sob stories, whether of the Khalistanis who have infiltrated among the farmers, or whether the Rihanna and the Greta sob story, or both of these sob stories have too many loopholes. If you look at what Saira ji is saying, that they were like these protests started out as really good protests. I remember that in the beginning itself, there were threats made for the Prime Minister. Then there were people like Yograj Singh who were visiting these camps, who were continuously, they were peddling anti-Hindu hatred, and nobody really disowned these people. This Deep Sidhu also, till the time he was peddling Congress's agenda, he was a hero. And as soon as the farmer leaders disowned him, he became a BJP and an RSS agent. And I don't understand how can there be so many coincidences. Rihanna turns out to be a friend of Jagmeet Singh. Greta ends up uploading something she was not supposed to. And farmers do exactly what the SFG document said like 2 weeks ago. If you look at the document issued by, the advisory issued by Six for Justice, the Khalistani fringe group, the group had also called for some sort of a tractor rally parallel to India's Republic Day parade, and then violence at either India Gate or the Red Fort. And the Pakistani generals have also been.
In fact, that's a very interesting point that you raise. Let me ask Adil Singh Boparai. So, Adil Singh Boparai, should those elements who insisted against Delhi police advice that a tractor rally must be brought out only on Republic Day and in Delhi and not elsewhere, not on that Faridabad, Palwal, Kondli highway, those who insisted, this document seems to indicate that would it indicate they were a hand in glove? Do they need to be investigated? Should they come forward now, join investigations? Is this too much of a coincidence, sir?
Well, Gaurav, firstly, I would like to respond to the previous speaker. Perhaps her understanding of democracy is quite dismal. Being anti-BJP or being against BJP does not make you anti-India, madam. Please understand this. This is civics 101. If you haven't understood this, I indeed pity you, number one. Number two, Gaurav, and this is extremely critical. There are not so-called sob stories. 180 farmers have indeed died, and your channel has done an excellent coverage of the difficulties which the farmers are facing.
Yes.
There is genuine farmer anger and disenchantment.
And we continue to do
I
it every
remember
day.
when this entire crisis started, there was a certain section of the Bharatiya Janata Party which initially labeled it as a Punjab-led agitation. Today, this agitation and anger is spread across Haryana, is spread across Uttar Pradesh. There are farmers from Uttarakhand and Rajasthan, and this entire movement is gaining momentum. The situation is such today that the Haryana Chief Minister can't step out of his house in the face of farmer anger. Number two. Number three, and I again reiterate, the violence on the 26th was a conspiracy. It was a conspiracy to defame and sully the good name of the farmers. And I would just put this out to your viewers.
So those who are doing this tractor wheelie and those who are using tractor as a battering ram were part of that conspiracy?
Please.
Adil Singh Boparai, they were a part of this conspiracy?
Gaurav, please. The violence.
No, because I'm asking you a very direct question, sir.
That question within 30 seconds.
Those who were indulging in a violent act.
Another 30 seconds, I'm answering your pointed question. The violence on the 26th was a conspiracy to sully the good name of the farmers. And I urge your viewers to consider just one question. Who benefits from defaming the farmers? And the answer is just one. It is the Bharatiya Janata Party which wanted to defame the movement. Unfortunately, they failed then.
Nupur wants to respond because I'm running out of time. There are other reports I must show.
Please.
Okay. Nupur, you want to quickly respond?
Yes. Quickly. You know, the BJP doesn't have to defame anybody, but that the protest has been infested by miscreants is something that even your own leaders are saying. You know, from Hi Modi Marja to Umar Khalid ko aur us Shahidul Imam ko riya karo to one farmer, I can't call him a farmer, coming on court to saying Indira Gandhi ko thoka tha, Modi ko bhi thok denge. You know, I'm sorry, swords and axes, but God knows what kind of weaponry was being used on 26 January, and it finally culminating to Rahul Gandhi on January 28 saying पूरे देश में आग लग जाएगी. ये कितना पीसफुल प्रदर्शन था, पूरे दुनिया ने देख लिया, देश ने ही नहीं. But what is unfortunate is the presence of many Congress leaders, even non-farmers or top tractors, and within that rioting gloutish group which was there undoing everything that Republic Day stands for, everything that democracy stands for, everything that the tricolour stands for. This is nothing but a conspiracy. The only people to benefit are these people. Otherwise, Mrs. Priyanka Vadra would be standing with men in uniform and not with people driving their tractors in a way that actually kill them. I'm sorry to say, this is no longer a farmers' protest. This is sponsored by the opposition.
Can I respond, Gaurav? 30 seconds.
Okay. I would want you to respond to that, but before that,
I'll answer that.
Hold on. Allow me to moderate. My colleague Mosmi Singh has returned from Ranpur. She's filed this report on Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, and that was the report I wanted to talk about. Before this spat happened between the two of you. But let's take a look at that report. Adil Singh Boparai, I'll come back to you to respond to this, sir.
Priyanka Gandhi Vadra wades into the protests against the new farm laws. The Congress General Secretary, who has so far voiced her views through tweets, was in Rampur on Thursday to meet the family of the farmer who died during Republic Day violence. Priyanka attended a prayer meet for the deceased farmer, extended full support to the family.
पिताजी का दिल टूटा हुआ है. आप सोच सकती हैं कि कितना दुख हो रहा है उनको. वो न्यायिक जांच चाहते हैं और वो बहुत स्पष्ट कह रहे हैं कि उनको लगता उन्होंने अपना पोजीशन बहुत क्लियर किया है. जुडिशियल इंक्वायरी चल रही है. आप भी मांग करेंगे जुडिशियल इंक्वायरी? बिल्कुल मैं उनका पूरा समर्थन करूंगी, पूरा सपोर्ट पूरा करूंगी.
30-year-old Navneet Singh's death in Delhi is clouded in controversy. The Delhi police says Navneet died in an accident. He met with during the tractor rally that deviated from the route agreed upon. Sources in the police had released CCTV footage that shows Navneet's tractor ramming the barricades before turning turtle. Navneet's family has rejected the police version.
तो जो उसकी पोस्टमार्टम रिपोर्ट है उसमें क्लियर है कि ये यहाँ से एक बूम एंटर करता है और एग्जिट पॉइंट है जो ब्रेन मैटर बाहर लेके गया है, तो गुंजाइश है नहीं कहीं। फिर भी जो इनका जो ड्रामा है, आप किससे हम जांच मांगे? कातिल ही तो जांच करेंगे ना हमारे केस की, कौन करेगा इसकी जांच? इसलिए हमें कोई बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी जो हमारे हमदर्द हैं वो चाहते हैं कि इंसाफ हमें मिले। उनकी जो हमने उनकी भावनाओं की भी कदर करनी है कि वो कहते हैं कि इसकी जुडिशियल इंक्वायरी होनी चाहिए, तो हम यस आई एग्री।
Priyanka's visit to the deceased farmer's family has triggered a political backlash from the BJP.
यह सारे विरोधी जो पार्टी के राजनेता हैं या दल के लोग हैं, यह सब भारतीय जनता पार्टी से कहीं मुकाबला नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो किसानों की आड़ ले रहे हैं कि उनके पीछे छिप करके हम भारतीय जनता पार्टी को निशाना बनाएं, देश के सबसे लोकप्रिय प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी को निशाना बनाएं। लेकिन उनका यह निशाना काम नहीं आ रहा है, क्योंकि देश की जनता किसान आंदोलन की आड़ में जो राजनीति हो रही है इस सच को जान गई है।
Political parties have so far stayed away from big political support for the young farmer given the circumstances in which he died. Now the Congress is backing Navneet's family's demand for a judicial probe. But will Priyanka Gandhi Vadra's open support help or hurt the Congress party remains to be seen. With video journalists Sanjay and Amir Khan, this is Mosmi Singh in Rampur for India Today.
Okay, so Mosmi Singh's report, according to people in the Delhi police, and of course now that's a point that's also been raised by Nupur Sharma, Adil Singh Boparai, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra did not meet the 500 injured Delhi police personnel, some with life-threatening injuries, but went and visited what the Delhi police describes, who the Delhi police describes is a protester, an assailant who used a farmer as a weapon to target the police, hit a barricade, his tractor turned turtle, and he lost his life.
Is that question to me, Gaurav?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that question to me, Gaurav?
Yes, Adil, that question is for you.
Gaurav, Mr. Modi has not expressed a single word of empathy or compassion for 180 farmers who've lost their lives at the protest site. I would urge you to even put this question to the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson, point number one. Point number two, let me expose the pseudo-patriots who claim to be self-appointed patriots. One such farmer at Singhu border is the father of Gurjant Singh. And let me tell your viewers who Gurjant Singh is. Gurjant Singh is the braveheart who laid down his life at the Galwan Valley fighting the Chinese. One such farmer is his father. And Nupurji and the other panelists is calling the farmers terrorists and anti-nationals. It is extremely unfortunate and I condemn such statements.
I will answer this.
Priyanka ji's visit to Rampur. If the family of the deceased has serious doubts, what is the problem for an independent inquiry to settle the dust? If the family has reservations, after all, the boy who lost his life was an Indian citizen. It is not Nupur's case that he was not an Indian citizen. If the family has certain doubts, let a medical board be constituted and let that medical board ascertain the true cause of the death. That would also bring closure to the family. I don't think there is anything or any agency which should try to deny or scuttle that. Point number three.
Now,
point number
Gaurav, 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 you have to allow me to now respond.
Okay,
this is
sir,
not
since
fair.
time
I'm
is
sorry.
restricted.
Please allow me.
Yes, Nupur. Sir,
please allow me.
Okay, let's have a conversation. Sure, he's made a point. Please respond. I'll come back to him.
Yes. I will pointedly answer. At one end, Mr. Boparai says that I'm sorry to say, but the rioting was done by BJP hooligans. So is he trying to now say that Mrs. Vadra visit of a BJP hooligan martyred in the protest on 26 January. This belies logic according to me. Secondly, when Galwan clash was happening, they were not brave hearts. Rahul Gandhi went on record in Bihar to say, we have ceded our territory, not that we have regained what his great-grandfather lost. No, I did not heckle him. I did not heckle him. Please, this is not fair, Gaurav. This is not fair. I did not heckle the man right
one by one. So I'll come back to you.
Allow me to answer. He cannot start and end the debate. He cannot start and end the debate. This is not his monologue. This is not his stage. This is not his monologue. This is not his
One by
stage.
one.
You allow me my time.
My request to both my guests. My request to both my guests. Okay. Sir. Okay. Nupur and Adil Singh Bopara, you're both seasoned debaters. Both of you have great points. Let viewers hear both sides. Both of you have great points. Let viewers hear all sides. Let viewers have an information. Okay, one by one.
Allow me, Gaurav. This is not fair. You will allow him to start and also finish the debate and then heckle everybody in between. Is this a stage? Is he contesting the election from this stage?
Adil Singh Bopara, permit her to finish. I will come back to you. I also need to go to my other guests. Adil, permit her to finish, please.
He's continuing to heckle me. Why
not a word on Kangana. Not a word on Kangana.
Okay.
Kangana gets away.
Okay. Okay. Sir, when we are talking about Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, why should we bring in Kangana at that stage?
Please call our farmers terrorists.
Today, concern about farmers.
Bollywood star opposed by the BJP is calling farmers terrorists. I'm perturbed. And I know in your heart,
I want to know how many houses did Rahul Gandhi visit? In Rahul Gandhi's own backyard, Amethi, Amarnath Prasad Yadav committed suicide months after Rahul Gandhi visited his house because he was so let into deep.
Let me bring in Saira Shah Halim. Okay. Before I'll take a moment and reestablish that link with Saira Shah Halim. But Sonam Mahajan, a very clear distinction needs to be made by everyone, and very clearly. There's love and respect for farmers, but there is no love and respect for those who are trying to destabilize our country, and that distinction needs to be made because we need to keep India first, and one cannot give cover fire to the wrongdoings of another. That has to be made very clear, Sonam Mahajan.
Gaurav, I don't want to get into BJP and Congress, but the government of India has from the beginning been making this distinction. The government of India stand from the beginning has been that there is a section of farmers, there is a section of Khalistanis, which is present among the farmers during the protests. That's the statement the government of India has been making. And how else could the government of India prove this? We have already seen violence on the roads of Delhi. Now, instead of talking about the larger debate, the international conspiracy, we are stuck in questions like who gains from defaming the farmers. I think the bigger question should be who gains from defaming the Indian state? Who gains from defaming the Indian government? That is the question we need to ask of ourselves as well as each other.
Okay.
I don't know who gains from defaming the farmers because nobody really wants to do that.
Saira Shah Halim.
It's a section of farmers which is
Saira Shah Halim, that's a very valid point.
Yes.
That's a very valid point. There is love and respect for farmers, and more needs to be done for our farmers. Nobody doubts that. Nobody. There is no argument about that. But
what happens, Gaurav?
Those who say
I want to add
take
this,
policemen hostages, ma'am, those who take policemen hostage. There is a leader who's been caught on camera, and Delhi Police again. Praveer Ranjan, Special Commissioner, Delhi Police told me in an interview that leader is a person of interest. There's a lookout circular for him. He's been asked to join investigation and he hasn't so far. So the point remains, if somebody says take policemen hostage, such elements need to be weeded out. And let's be very clear about it. We cannot beat about the bush about these serious issues. Vandalism at Red Fort, violence at Red Fort, unacceptable. Whether Deep Sidhu or anybody else needs to be arrested.
Okay, so Gaurav, let me come in. So anybody who's inciting violence, firstly, has to be taken into account. Okay, there's going to be no tolerance for any kind of violence or anyone who's even inciting violence, be it provocatory slogans, be it incendiary comments, or anyone inciting hatred for the other. Now, you look at the pattern of events right from 2019 CA NRC to 2020 NRC CA protests. You look at the way the dissent or even protests have been tried to get dismantled. So they've always been somebody planted.
There were riots in Delhi, ma'am. 57 people lost their lives.
Supreme Court held that.
There were elements. There were elements who were saying cut off India at Assam.
What is this?
No. Madam perhaps does not know that the Supreme Court held that the Shaheen Bagh protest was ultra-virus the Constitution. You perhaps don't know that. Shaheen Bagh has been declared unconstitutional by the Honorable Supreme Court. Sarah, do your homework before you come on TV debates. It's unfortunate. But I will tell you, Sonia Gandhi before the riots in Delhi said Arya Par ki ladai hai. And Rahul Gandhi after the 20 January chaos and riots said pura desh jal jayega. You know, we all know who's behind this rioting. We all know when 3,600 farmers committed suicide in Karnataka. Nobody from the Congress visited. We know that when Rahul Gandhi's own backyard in Amethi, Amarnath Prasad Yadav committed suicide. He did not return. Although he took media to his house to show how farmers are poor. But when he committed suicide 4 months later, this is an India Today story, Rahul Gandhi never returned. He never returned.
One thing has to be very clear. Okay, I'm running out of time. It is a heated. Okay, this issue does lead to heated debates. But
what kind of
clearly,
democracy
let's keep this civil. Let's keep this civil. Let's keep India first. Let's all together, at least on this panel, we are all on the same page. We need to keep India first. I've run out of time on this debate, but we will continue. We will continue to talk about this. No violence. Oh, absolutely. No violence. Unacceptable. Very, very clearly. Nobody can say that they'll cut India off at Assam and then think that that's freedom of expression. But that's another debate. We'll have that in another debate. To all my guests, Adil Singh Boparai, Nupur Sharma, Sonam Mahajan and Saira Shah Halim. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. A quick break at this stage.
Hello everyone. This is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.